and welcome to the latest edition of the Gutsy Podcast. As always, thanks a lot for tuning in. Please subscribe, because we are going to be giving you some additional content coming up that's pretty exclusive to subscribers only. So if you can subscribe, please hit the button now, and we would be eternally in your debt. But also, if you quite like what we do, it'll get you ahead of the game. You'll be informed when all the new guests are coming on and everything that goes with that. So thank you. Today, we're very excited for our guest today. Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast, Alex Pope. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks. Really excited.
Are you excited?
Yeah.
Well, that's quite unusual for somebody to want to hang about with me. But anyway, that's nice. You're most welcome to be here, and it's a great privilege to have you here. So, for those who have maybe not followed Alex online, to just get a bit of background, I think that's important. Yeah. We spoke, I don't know, my time's not very good, I think about 18 months ago.
I think it was
something like that. And we spoke about your UC battles, and you wanted to maybe do something through your work for the foundation, but you were really keen. You weren't in the place at the time because your health maybe wasn't too great, but you wanted to do Hyrox. And I was like, that's tough. That's tough for anybody, but it's tough if you've got IBD. So that's how we started chatting, and we'll get to it, the Hyrox thing. But for anybody who doesn't know, what is Hyrox, Alex?
So Hyrox is a functional fitness competition that consists of a kilometre run and a functional fitness station, and you times that by 8. So you've got your ski, your row, 80 metres of burpee broad jumps. Everybody
loves a burpee, not.
That was terrible. Farmer carries, 100 wall balls. I'm trying to think what the other ones were. Sled push and pull as well. So it was. Wow. Right, it's a tough one.
So it's meaty. But we're going to go into a fair amount of detail in that, because I've got a great admiration for anybody that does that. But my admiration is off the roof if you've got IBD and you're doing that, because that's phenomenal and wildly inspiring. So congratulations, but I look forward to that. So you're not from the Shire of Scotland, are you? You're from Northern Ireland.
Yes.
What brings you here?
So, I was 18 years old, went to Manchester for uni to do aeronautical engineering, and then got a job up on the west coast of Scotland 6 years ago, and I'm still here.
Doing Ayrshire?
Yeah, the west coast. It's beautiful.
No, tell me this. There's a big event happening in Ayrshire this weekend. Are you going to the Pavilion Festival?
I'm not.
Why not?
I'm going to the gym.
Oh, come on, man. You can go at the gym and then you can go and see James and Star Sailor and all these wonderful DJs that are on.
I actually forgot it was on. Yeah, I was at a Hindu last weekend as well, so I'm a bit.
Oh, where was the Hindu?
Down in Sheffield.
Right.
4 days, yeah.
4 days in Sheffield?
Yeah.
That sounds like a horror movie.
No, it was good. It was really good. But yeah.
No.
I can't have another long weekend at the minute.
Yeah, but you're not getting away with that. We need detail. 4 days in Sheffield. What does that look like, the Hindu?
So we were actually stayed in a cottage in a village called Hope.
Is that what you needed at the start of it?
Yeah, a nice wee cottage. I
was thinking about the Hope.
Oh, yeah. Needed that as well. Yeah, drinks, park run, big night out, and then a hike on the Sunday and chill. The bride's very chill vibes.
Wow.
Not a party animal, but
that actually sounds nice. Almost nice.
It was.
Civilised.
It was, but it was a wee bit messy, but it was nice.
Nice. I like that. So you've kind of got the yin and the yang thing happening there with the park run and the hike and a wee bit of madness in
between.
And this hen night sandwich thing. Well, I like that. All in Sheffield, in Hope in Sheffield.
It's I think it's in Sheffield. I mean, we went out in Sheffield, so.
Right, and Sorry, I'm just nosy,
Yeah,
to be honest with you. I'm
fine.
just dead nosy. And why was this Hope picked?
I think it was just the Airbnb for 15 of us.
15? And everybody was in the one place, in the one cottage?
It was like 2 sort of merged together, so you could hop across both.
And was the hen from that area, or did you just go there?
Oh no, we just went there. Yeah.
All right, yeah. Cool. And I've got a question relating to that with your IBD. How does the old bevy react with your UC?
Not great.
No. Do you need to plan your attack?
Yeah, I don't do it very often.
Yeah. Well, obviously you've been fit.
No, sometimes it would flare me up actually.
Yeah.
Now that I'm on biologics, it's a wee bit different.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more manageable, actually. But I don't really drink anymore. More non-alcoholic. But on times like that, I'll have a few drinks and suffer a wee bit.
Just get a wee bit of balance. Yeah. So I mean that's probably a good lesson and great self-management, really, isn't it?
In a way, yeah. It's tough because you can't always go out and drink whenever everyone else is drinking.
Right.
And you sort of go, why are you on the non-alcoholic?
So when you go on a non-alcoholic, when you say non-alcoholic, was that a non-alcoholic beer or?
Yeah, beers. I actually quite like the Lucky Saint one. It's quite good.
Yeah.
There's a couple of different brands out there, but that one seems to. I'm actually all right with it and sits well with me. Don't feel too bad after it.
So it's the actual.
I think it's the actual alcohol.
Yeah, the reactor's the actual alcohol for you. So it's not like that's a fizzy drink or anything else. It's in a beer or whatever else.
No, it seems to be like if I go out drinking, if I've had any alcohol whatsoever, I'm not in a good place.
That's a trigger, and I think that's a valuable conversation for loads of people here because let's face it, we're in a nation of working alcoholics in the main. Although looking at the stats these days, 30% of the young ones now don't drink.
I know.
Don't drink, and it's heavily affecting the nightclub industry, I believe, which is quite sad. So get back in the bevy and support the nightclubs. That's what I say.
Bring back the £1 Jaeger bomb. That was a bad time at uni.
Well, on the flip side of that, it could be seen as a good time. We used to be £1 Jaeger bombs. Jaeger bombs, that's with the Red Bull.
Yeah.
Well, in my day, and I'm significantly older than you, there was a legendary nightclub in Glasgow called The Tunnel. Okay. And on a Friday night, they used to do £1 vodka Red Bulls before 12 or 11 or something like that. Yeah. So everybody used to stock up. And
right into pint glass kind of thing.
Spoken like somebody with good experience in the old alcoholism there, Alex. Well done. Hazy memories, but good memories.
Yeah, felt rough for days after.
I know, but you were.
It was fun. It was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you had the benefit of youth, didn't you? So you just kept going. Yeah. Hazy days, great. But I think there's lots of the community like to have a drink, like to go out and have a good time. And anybody that we spoke to that's shall we say a little bit more experienced with it, with living with their IBD, have got something similar to what you're saying. They kind of bank the goodwill almost. Yeah, definitely. You have to, or else you're just miserable all the time because it's that vicious cycle of, I don't feel well. What's going to make me feel better? It's definitely stuff that you know that you can't eat or drink or whatever you can't do. You go out and do it, and you've gone from 50% to 20%. You're like, I still don't feel well. What am I going to do? And it's a vicious cycle. Yeah. Until you're in the red zone. Yeah, and I think it's about listening to your body as well. And some people are better at that than others. Mm-hmm. Definitely. And it's a big kind of self-management piece, and it's something we talk about quite often on Gutsy. It's like kind of getting used to that, looking at yourself as a whole. And I've probably said this before on the podcast. And Seb Tucknuck, who was on a couple of weeks ago, I liked his kind of analogy of it when he was saying it's almost like a bank account. Yeah. you make sure you're wearing the black, and then you
put it all on red.
But you get so I seen it as like kind of gaming. You give yourself a few lives, and then you kind of have a few drinks and enjoy yourself. You need to take the hit on the other side. Aye, definitely. But you're managing that, and you mix that up on your hen do with the park run. I've done a park run before.
I've not actually done one in Scotland before. I've always done them in England.
I'm saying I've done park run before. I've done one. I've done one park run.
I've done 4. So
I wouldn't exactly say I was a veteran of the park run. I did one under duress on Christmas Day in Liverpool.
Fair enough.
You still have.
With a Santa suit on, I hope.
Santa hat. I did have a Santa hat. But
like it.
No, that's quality. So you've come up here as you are an aerospace engineer.
Yeah. So
Fantastic.
yeah, I'm a materials and processes engineer, to be really specific. So I read specs of different aircraft companies.
Wow.
And making sure everything's made correctly.
To me, that sounds incredible.
It's the most fascinating thing ever, because sometimes you go, how have you not done this right?
Oh, really?
It's right there.
Well, sometimes that's the skill.
Yeah, isn't it?
You see the answer.
Yeah.
Now let's go back. Let's go back. I mean, we've touched on your hen do. You've touched on the job, but I mean, what I would really like to go into is your story with inflammatory bowel disease a little bit.
Yeah.
So you were diagnosed, in the grand scale of things, not really that long ago,
right,
2023.
No.
And so how did that materialise? How did that come about for you?
So essentially, I got quite sick with COVID. Must have been, so it's 2020 to 2021, that sort of Christmas period, New Year, and I never quite recovered, and I just thought it was long COVID, like everyone else would have thought so. Yeah. And then I started experiencing probably the most notable symptoms, so blood, mucus, the bloating, feeling really sick after eating, the fatigue as well, and it runs in my family as well, so I knew pretty much as soon as that bleeding hadn't stopped within a couple of weeks, I needed to see my doctor, and I went and got a jab off of him, and I just turned around and said, "Oh, can I have a sample pot, because I've not stopped bleeding, and I think I've got IBD. It runs in my family. I'm pretty confident this is it." A few weeks later, "Oh yeah, you've got no infection markers, but your inflammatory markers are a bit high. I'm going to put you on an urgent referral to the gastro team." I said, "Great." She was like, "Oh, how you doing now?" I was like, "I'm trying to manage it, but it's not getting any better."
Yeah.
And I was getting quite sick at that point, and I knew what it was, but I didn't want to go to the hospital because I didn't think I was that sick. I didn't want to be a burden, in the waiting room in A&E.
But do you know what? It's I don't know. It's such a British mentality,
isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I knew an appointment was coming, so I was like, maybe tomorrow I'm going to be better.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow I'm going to be better.
Yeah,
maybe this appointment's going to come and I'll be better.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, and I honestly thought that whenever I was getting my appointment through, that he was going to take my bloods and actually admit me, because I was feeling that poorly.
Yeah.
And that first appointment with the gastro consultant was absolutely terrible. I actually cried on my way back to work because he's like, it could just be IBS, sorry. You'll be fine. And I was like, so what happens if I have another one of these like flare-ups where I'm literally just passing blood? "Oh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine."
All right.
And I was like, right, cool. Right, fab. So it's stuff like that doesn't make you want to go back to the doctor. So I got a scope done. That was traumatic. It's not the prep that scared me. It was the scope that was the worst bit for me.
Yeah.
It was the worst thing I've ever done. I was in so much pain. I got asked to stop squealing. And I was so glad it was over. And then within a week, I was back in the hospital because I was in a flare-up.
You weren't squealing because you weren't squealing because you wanted to.
I know. I was like, just get it over and done with. I need you to find what you need to find. Take the biopsies and give me a diagnosis because I can't do this.
Yeah.
I was in hospital then, literally a week after.
Yeah.
On, I think it was 5 bags of fluids or something.
Wow.
Because I don't know what had happened within a couple of. I thought I got better, and then I got really sick again.
Yeah.
I couldn't really work out, and I couldn't eat, couldn't drink, everything, and they were just like, "Oh, you're dehydrated." And then as they were discharging me, they were like, "Oh, when's your follow-up appointment?" I was like, "You tell me." You've got it in the computer.
Joy.
Yeah, so it wasn't one of those things where it was like really visible on the scope either. It was just at my terminal ileum. I think that's how you pronounce it.
But I think what you're describing is, it's not uncommon in the fact that, you know, sometimes IBD is really difficult to diagnose, and even to the point where you're saying, listen, I'm pretty confident I've got inflammatory bowel disease of some description, and you know, because you've got a little bit of, a big bit of family history in it, so you're coming for a point on pretty educated direction, shall we say, and far from an educated guess, I would suggest. So even with that, it was quite difficult.
And it was quite hard going, because I knew that while I was in that hospital room, that they weren't taking me seriously either, because nothing was really. My bloods have always been relatively in the normal range, but they've always been absolutely haywire. Nothing's ever stable. And then I waited 10 months on those biopsy results. 10 months.
Wow, that's disappointing.
I was ringing my GP and they said, "Oh, we can't really give you anything until you've had that appointment with the gastro team." So I was ringing them up going, "I really need this appointment. I need something to help me." Yeah,
so in that 10 months, where are you health wise? You still got to work?
I don't know how I was going to work, but I was going to work.
Right.
Still trying to exercise. I'd been a lot more kinder to myself.
Yeah.
Because I knew I wasn't well, and I knew I couldn't push it, or else I'd be really sick.
Yeah.
I'd cut back on all my foods, really. Wasn't eating vegetables. The low residue diet, so you're plain chicken and rice. Maybe going out for a meal or two, trying to post on my Instagram, recipes and stuff. But a lot of it, I had to cut so much food out, so it was actually quite difficult to maintain that sort of side of things as well, which I really enjoyed.
Did you then, and do you now, find that you've got food triggers?
Yeah. So I think a lot of fibre seems to affect me if I overdo it on the fibre front.
So what do you cut back on?
So I eat like your white carbs. Like I used to be whole wheat, everything, broccoli, spinach, tomatoes is also one of my triggers. Funnily enough, same with my sister and dad. Yeah. I can't eat pizza anymore, and it sucks. It absolutely sucks.
This is horrendous.
A spaghetti bolognese would be great.
You can't have that. That's very disappointing.
Sometimes I'm like, right, I'll have a wee slice here. Let's give that a go.
But is there not pizza that without?
I could have a barbecue pizza, but if you go to one of those fancier places, they don't always do that, do they?
Like where?
A lot of there's a place local in there it's just tomato based.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah.
There's a lot of places that do different catering for different requirements and different needs. So that's disappointing.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things, isn't it?
No, not shouldn't be. Put them in a review.
I want barbecue pizza, please.
Yeah, and I want it. They want it now. I want a special menu. So during this time, it sounds as if you're, with the greatest respect, you're kind of barely functioning. You're getting there, but it's.
I'm just moving. I'm just existing at that point. we were actually getting married as well that June. So that again, I mean, I wasn't stressed at all about the wedding. I knew exactly what I wanted and everything was to plan. So that wasn't affecting me stress-wise, but I think a lot of people are like, oh, you're just stressed because of the wedding. And I was literally just driving myself to work, going to the gym, eating my chicken and rice.
Yeah, which is not the most exciting thing in the world.
It's not. I mean, not when if you like food.
No, not at all. But so then, when that 10 months came, was it because you had pushed it, or did it just eventually come through time?
The appointment just came through, and it was honestly like a breath of fresh air. Actually, they're like, "Oh, your biopsies have said you've got UC," and they gave me my medication at the start, and I was like, "This is." I actually sat and cried in the car. Yeah. Again, because I couldn't believe that I'd actually finally got a diagnosis and answers and medication, but I didn't quite know that was going to be the start of another bumpy journey.
Because when you're given your diagnosis, you know what you're dealing with then.
Yeah,
rather than so many questions and sort of right, you see, right, well, in my head now I can make actions to deal with that. Yeah,
and then work can make adjustments and stuff like that for you as well, and you're not just saying to folk, "Oh, I think I've got IBD, so I'm not going to come out," or "I'm too tired." Like you're actually there's a it sounds ridiculous, but it's a proper doctor's note, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not ridiculous at all. It's not ridiculous at all. And something that you touched on there that a lot of people will be really interested in, because I know sadly there are challenges in it. How did your work make adjustments for you? Would you say that they were good?
I think my work have been really good. It's more my line manager that would deal with a lot of it. So if I'm off sick, I think there's protocols with HR and stuff, but I've never breached any of those sort of sickness requirements where you get called in. I'm able to go to all my appointments. Yeah. Absolutely fine. Infusions, if it's in the afternoon and they know that I'm not feeling quite right after, they're really good. They don't expect me back in. Yeah. I can work from home if I really wanted to. On a bad day, I could also work from home, but I've always told myself if I'm too sick to go in to be in the office to work, I'm too sick to be at work. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a funny thing that because people say, "Oh, I'm not feeling well, I'll work from home," but you should just give yourself a bit of chance to recover, really.
Yeah, and I think I'm still learning that myself as well. Whenever I'm really not well and I'm struggling, I'll still come into the office, and I need to work on that myself. But it's one of those things that in my work life I've not got a hold of, but everything else, I know when to stop. Yeah, but I think you can learn. It's introducing habits and listening to your body and having a degree of to do what you do, i.e. with your training and your exercise regime and stuff like that. That takes an incredible amount of discipline, and but a big part of that's routine. Yeah. But being disciplined in other elements of your life like that, work and listening to your body and saying, no, I can't do that, because that can only benefit you long term as well, in the short term and in the long term, because you're listening to that and you're taking that little bit of time out. Put it into fitness, a kind of fitness analogy. It's like you need your rest days. Yeah, you do. Because they're just as important. But if you're dealing with a chronic condition, you also need that. So, something we hear quite often is like people that don't. So, you better get your finger. I do. I do need to work on that.
but do you know what? You recognise it. Yeah. So if you recognise it, then you can start to develop that. So we'll look for an update on that within the next 6 months, Alex, to see see how that's developed for you. I think the gutsy people must know these things, So going back to what you're saying there,
Yep.
you got a diagnosis, but that was the start of a bumpy road.
It was, yes.
So tell us how that road was.
So I was put on, I think you pronounce, I'm really bad with my pronunciation, by the way, so just a forewarning here.
You'll pronounce it better than me, so don't worry.
I believe it was Salofac granules I was put on, which is a 5 ASA, I think. Yeah, it's like the bottom of that triangle of medication, that triangle pyramid thing of medication. And I thought I was doing really well on that, so I was getting my blood tests every week, and I was like, oh, I'm doing all right. Yeah, I'm feeling a wee bit better.
Happy
Still
days.
need to sort of like watch myself a wee bit. Then I had pizza. I went out for drinks, and I went into a flare.
Oof.
I went into a flare, but it wasn't. I was able to manage it relatively well without needing hospital. But I rang my GP, and when I was getting my blood tests done and stuff, I was like, I think I'm in a flare up. Can you just check these markers for me while you're doing these bloods? You might as well. And they just sort of said, oh, everything's fine. And I said, no, I think it got to one point I was like, I'm really struggling. I'm struggling here. Like, I was in a daze doing absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Getting to work. I was literally getting to work, working, well, trying to work,
Yeah.
going home, and was lying on my sofa eating chicken dippers. And because that was the only thing I could eat. I couldn't even go out and walk. Like, my stomach, I was in bits. I was so fatigued. I was like, something is wrong with me.
Yeah.
And I got fobbed off basically by the GP. And it was getting close to Christmas, and I actually decided to ring the consultant instead. I said, no, I need something. You need to have a look at these bloods because something's not working here. And I'm in a flare up. Something needs to change. You need to change my medication or put me on steroids or something to get this under control because I'm not doing well. My life sucks at the minute, and I want to eat my Christmas dinner. Which I thought was fair enough.
I think that's a wonderful thing to want to do.
I really, really wanted to eat my Christmas dinner, and I knew I wouldn't have been able to.
Were you making Christmas dinner at home, or were
Yeah, I was making Christmas dinner at home. And basically, they were like, we'll tweak it. So they changed the brand to Pentasa. And I felt fantastic within a couple of days.
Right.
And I don't know if that's a placebo effect or something, but I was like, right, I'm buzzing. I was able to eat a bit more food. I had more energy. So I'm going to say definitely a placebo here because it happened in such a short time.
But even that in itself is incredible.
I went out on a run and everything on Christmas morning. I was like, I'm buzzing. I was able to eat my dinner. Obviously, didn't take it too far. I was still really sensible with my food. Wasn't a bit of pain, but like it was manageable. It was manageable. Yeah. I was a lot better than what I was the week previous, where I was in tears in work, going, I'm really sick on the phone to the consultant secretary. And with that, you still get your blood test every couple of weeks, and my liver function decided that it wasn't having a fun time.
No.
My liver function just went up and up and up and up, and they're like, we're going to have to stop you on this medication. Oh. We'll give you some laxatives and some Imodiums to tide you over.
That sounds like a lovely tide over.
And I was like, great, thanks. You just have to wait on your next gastro appointment. I was like, cool. When's that going to be?
Don't know.
So that was 6 weeks, I think. So actually, better than 10 months. I was like, I'll take it. Yeah,
you're taking that as a win, aren't you?
Yeah. Because I actually felt relatively good on the Pentasa. So that was last year.
Is that when I spoke to you?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, because when we initially spoke, I think you were going through a pretty tough time. Because I remember, the way that you spoke, you know, having get to know you a little bit is like you're very driven as an individual.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah,
and you know, and you know, you've got that energy. You've got a natural energy about you for that. But if you're not able to perform, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's going to the gym or whatever, and I could totally get that for the first conversation that we had, like that how you came across as like super frustrated.
Yeah. It is.
Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, it's honestly, it is frustrating because I thought the toughest bit was getting my diagnosis. I didn't think changing the medication would be too much of an issue. And then I was gaslit by my consultant again, saying, you're not that sick, so you can either try azithromycin or you can wait on a scope. I was like, I need something now, because you're leaving this too long, really, to actually act on it.
Because one of the things is as well, they're with the greatest respect to our wonderful consultants out there, they're experts in inflammatory bowel disease, and that's what that's there. But you're an expert in you, aren't you? You're the expert in you, and and it's having the strength of character in many respects, and the will to say, you know what, this isn't quite right. And I think one of the challenges that a lot of their community have is how they deliver the conversation in the clinical space to be heard, because so many feel as if they're not being heard. Now that might be that there's another way of putting the information across, that there may be a bit of skill set in that, or they're not being heard. So it can be frustrating. Now tell me this, if you don't mind me asking, what a lot of this is the kind of physical elements of it, but where is your head in this? How's your mental health in this?
I don't think it was great, but in saying that, I was still going to the gym, and that's my safe space. Yeah. That is my safe space. Or being a nudie on the sofa watching really bad TV. But, like my safe space is the gym. That's where I could be in a flare. I could have been to the toilet 20 times that day, and I could drive myself to the gym feeling absolutely terrible, and I could walk into those doors and I'm fine. I mean, I'm not totally fine, but mentally I am so much better because I can get in there. I'm seeing my pals, I'm seeing the members of the gym absolutely smashing their goals, exercising, and I could be there for 5 minutes, even just walking on a treadmill or sat on a bike, and I'll be like, right, I'll give something else a go. And I'm there doing a session with everyone. Yeah. Acting like I've not been to the toilet 20 times that day. Yeah. And I feel absolutely terrible. And then I finish up and then I'm dying again. But
yeah, but you've got that little bit in there.
There's that wee bit of energy that I'm like, if I can get to the gym, I'll be okay. Mentally, physically. I try to make as much time for that element because I just know that is such a safe space. Yeah, but it helps you in so many different ways, doesn't it? So it helps you in so many different ways. Having that release, obviously, there's the endorphin aspect of it as well. But you've got that. There's that community. Yeah. And one of the things that we speak a lot on the podcast that Gutsy is, and a phrase we hear all the time, is finding your tribe. Now, that sounds as if that's your tribe. Definitely. And are you really open about your UC? I am, yeah. I would say so. Probably a wee bit too open. Are you an oversharer? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. The ones that know me the most are like, oh God. Can you shut up, please? That's too much. Too much info, hun. I really They just look at me and I'm like, all right, I've overshared here. But it's about removing that stigma. Yeah. Actually, you see, just me just talking about it in work to a few folk going, I've actually got this issue, and there's other people in my office that have the same issues, same battles with UC, Crohn's. There's actually someone that's had a J pouch and everything.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have known if I hadn't have told them. And it's all about talking and actually removing that stigma, and going and getting help as well whenever you notice that something's wrong, because it might not be IBD and it could be something a lot worse. And my office it's a male dominated environment, so it is.
I bet.
And I think there's definitely a stigma around not going to the GP whenever you think something's wrong, or you notice those sort of gut changes, or you're losing weight, or you're not feeling right. A lot of men don't talk about it, even mental health with men as well. Like, no,
yeah.
Everyone, they all shut it out, unfortunately.
Yeah, do you know something? We speak it quite often in the office, and I'd like to think that over the next period of time, it's certainly something we'll be introducing into the timetable as a kind of a space for men, because if you look at our services and you look at the interaction that comes through our different channels, it's predominantly women, and we know that those guys are, they're maybe they've got the battles as well, and I think you're absolutely right. So it's definitely it's something that we need to do, but I think that you've kind of given some brilliant advice. Talk, and you're right. You want to normalise it. You want to break down the taboos. You want to educate, because and you see it all the time. You look fine. You look fine. You look great, but you're clearly not.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with an invisible condition, isn't it? It's like, it wasn't that. You were at the gym last night, and now you're saying you're this. You're knackered, or you're chronic fatigue. It's about people trying to educate people and get trying to get them to understand, because it's they've no clue what you're battling on a day-to-day basis. Like
people think it's quite like IBS, and the symptoms overlap, don't get me wrong, but they're like, oh well, you're just not, like, you're fine, and I'm like, I don't think you quite understand it. It's not just I go into the toilet, I'm in pain issue. It's not just a toilet issue, it's so much more. And I think just by speaking about it, it opens everyone's eyes, and they start going, oh well, maybe I need to go get something checked out, because it could be something. And I think that's really important as well. No,
I think your attitude to that is really commendable, because I'm not saying it's not uncommon, but there's not, it's not common enough. Is the bottom line. And and it's educating the community is really, really important. Our inflammatory bowel disease community and our families and everything else like that. But equally, if not more importantly, in some aspects, is educating everybody who's not, because they need to understand the challenges that are out there. And if we start to do that and break down those taboos and the stigma that surrounds it to a certain extent, then it can only be better for everybody. Fair play to you for being so open about it. Do you think you're open about it because you've got that history in the family, or is it just that's your natural way?
I think I think it's a mixture of both. Because my sister was diagnosed whenever I was living over here, and my mum was like, she can't eat that, or she's really not well at the minute, and I didn't understand. I didn't get it. I was like, well, why can't she eat healthy? Because she'd put on weight because of steroids, and she was having a really bad time with that, and she wanted to lose weight. And I was like, well, why can't she just eat like I do? Because I was like, it was during lockdown, I was fine. I was losing all this weight, living my best life, and my mum was like, she can't eat that because she's got ulcerative colitis. Like she ends up in a flare, and I just didn't understand.
Yeah, so
no, I do.
Aye, so I mean, it's quite an extreme way to see it, both sides of the coin. But But that's gave you incredible insight that you can take forward to help other people as well.
Yeah, and it was my own ignorance as well, because whenever someone asks you, "Oh, what do you have?" and I actually turn around and say, "Oh, I've got ulcerative colitis," and they're like, "Well, what's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, Crohn's." You just end up saying it's Crohn's.
Yeah.
Because people understand what that is. But do they? But they've heard it so much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's easier to just go, "Oh, I've got Crohn's."
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard somebody say that before.
Really?
No. Because I think sadly, very sadly, take absolutely no joy in it. That the diagnosis is going through the roof and continues to do so. And in true Scottish style, we're really good at the bad stuff, eh? We've got one of the biggest diagnoses of IBD, alcoholism, drug abuse stuff. Sorry, we're a really lovely place, but we're really good at that stuff. I think people in general would go, "Oh, what's that IBD?" And then they go IBS, don't they? And somebody says, "Oh, I've got that." Like, you don't. You definitely don't. You know, we'd JP Seenan in here on our podcast recording, and he was saying that maybe 20% of the population's got IBS, and what you said is that sometimes symptoms can overlap.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're clearly very different. But no, hats off to you for sharing it. Absolutely, but it's so important. And see, when you share something, it's really empowering. It's not only educating, but it's empowering, and it gives you that support network, doesn't it?
Yeah, because more people that understand whenever you're not having a good day, that you might just need a wee bit more support. Yeah, often.
Absolutely. And answer me this: do you know anybody else apart from in the family that in your workplace? So in your workplace,
there's a few people. Yeah.
So have you got a little bit of a support network if somebody's having a bad day, kind of thing? Like, not formalised.
To be honest, I wouldn't necessarily talk to some of the people, because they only found out because I'd done the fundraising that I'd had it. But there's someone in the engineering team that I would sort of talk about it and be like, "Oh, I've been put on as a thioprin, this is how it's going." And we'll talk about things like that. Because he's been through the ringer as well, so definitely. Yeah, so it's good to sort of bounce off different things rather than just going to my sister, "Oh, I'm having this is happening to me. Like, what do I do?" Yeah.
How is your sister?
I think she's doing all right. Yeah, it's been a tough one for her.
Yeah.
Bless her. Yeah, so she's only a couple of years younger than me, but I do sort of feel a bit crap for me just not understanding and being quite ignorant about it whenever she first got diagnosed and didn't understand it.
Yeah, but why would you?
Yeah.
Why would you? There's no reason why you shouldn't. And to a certain extent, it's quite a difficult thing. You're saying, well, your version of eating healthy, for example, you mentioned before. Well, why does that not work for you? Because that's a difficult thing to compute. Yeah. So if you're what you're kind of you're traditionally thinking is a healthy diet, well, why is that not working for you? Because maybe it's a fibre or whatever, something's not agreeing with you. So why would you know? So don't beat yourself up about that. I would suggest that.
And that's the same for me.
Yeah.
Can't eat the same, so
can't eat pizza. Oh my God, it's not good. It's not good. So you found your tribe, which is amazing. And when I spoke to you, and you were up, as we mentioned, you were going through that kind of a pretty bad time, but you were determined. You said to me, "I'm going to do Hyrox," and it's a decent level of fitness, that. And for someone that at that point in your position, going through a bit of a bad time, to have that goal was really quite something to hear. To be honest with you, and then you've gone and done it. But you were going through it. I mean, it takes a long time to get training, to train, to be in the zone, to go into that with confidence. Now, that's a fair old level of fitness doing that for anybody.
I didn't feel fit enough doing it. No, to be honest.
But do you ever? Do you know what I mean? Does anybody
I know.
ever? Do you know, because you always, I think you always think that
I could have done more.
You could have done more, or you're. I mean, the comparison's the thief of joy, isn't it? Oh, that person. I mean, that's not that you know, getting the mindset around that's it's no good. But it's to get there's quite an achievement. But how does training at that level of intensity, does that affect you and your inflammatory bowel disease? How does that work for you?
So it did. I'd actually just been put on biologics before I got my ticket. So I was like, I think I'll be ready. I think I'll be ready for this. Because at that point, I did want to do one, but I was never in a stable condition. I was just waiting for the next flare or the next bout of sickness where I couldn't train for 4 weeks. Yeah. You know.
So when you say that, that's quite interesting that you say that. You were just waiting in the next flare.
Yeah.
So that's like anticipating something bad.
Something, yeah.
Yeah. You know, we did a bit of work last year, and I was really quite blown away by this because I'd never heard it before, but we heard it multiple times during this piece of work. Mm-hmm. And what we heard was that, and this is coming from people with lived experience, whether they've got Crohn's or colitis, and they were saying the anxiety of maybe going into flare. Mm-hmm. So in some respects, they would rather be in flare, because they know what that feels like. Because the anxiety of not being in it, and it might be in a couple of hours, and it might be a week, they found that really, really difficult to deal with. Yeah. And you know, psychologically, it was really, really challenging for them. So they would rather be in flare.
Yeah, because I wasn't on medication so that was April. I was putting that azathioprine. Within a couple of weeks, I was back in hospital because my liver function was actually 10 times what it should have been, and they stopped me on it, and I had to wait on another scope. I had to wait on those biopsy results again to prove how sick I was for the biologics.
Wow.
And then I got given them. But that was April to November. That wasn't on anything.
Just November past.
Yeah. And I didn't want to go into Hyrox to raise money for charity and have to pull out because I wasn't stable. Because I was always going up and down. There was never a continuous level of, right, I can do this. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to give it my all as well, so...
Yeah, you don't strike me as a person that does half measures, Alex, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah, so I punched my ticket, obviously, for the Hyrox, and got my biologics, and then was like, right, this is time to really knuckle in and get this training on. And I'm not a runner. I'd run a few 5Ks here and there. Yeah. But I am not a runner. And I still wouldn't call myself a runner, but I do go out on runs now, and I'm really thankful.
Just so you know, you are. Yeah.
I guess so, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Do you know, we spoke about park runs earlier on. Yeah. If you do a park run in 20 minutes, you do a park run in 40 minutes, you're still doing a park run. Yeah. You know, they get, apart from the elites, it was London Marathon the weekend there. So
I'll not be signing up to one of them.
Horrendous things. So, you know, the person that does it in 3 hours gets the same medal as the person done it in 6.5.
Aye.
You still done a marathon.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so you're definitely a runner.
Right, so I'm a runner.
You're definitely a runner.
But I was training 9 times a week with one rest day. So I was doing sometimes a double day. So
talk me through that. That's a lot of training, a lot of commitment. So talk me through. What does an unaffected week look like, for example? When I mean unaffected, like, you know, you've not had there's no a work commitment in the way, or there's you know, you maybe not feeling well because of your UC or whatever. Yeah. What does that look like?
So I'd be at work from 8 to 5ish on a Monday. Go to the Hyrox class at 20 to 6. finish that, go on a compromised run on the treadmill.
Right, for people who don't,
So that means that, like,
what
a
does
run.
a compromised run mean?
It's a run sort of on tired legs. You've already done a workout, so to speak. So you're fatigued already.
Right.
So I was hitting a run after being fatigued.
Yes, so the compromised is your legs are compromised because they're done.
Legs, lung, heart.
yeah, get it.
So I was running for. I gradually upped it. Like 1 week it was 20 minutes. I made it up to like 50 minutes, I think, at one point. But it was a slow pace, just trying to get the legs moving after doing a Hyrox class for 45 minutes.
Yep. So that's Monday.
Yep, Monday. Tuesday, I'd be doing like a CrossFit style session, maybe some lifting before. But yeah, CrossFit style session, because that definitely helps the endurance a wee bit.
Absolutely.
Wednesday, rest day. Don't know why it's a Wednesday, but it's a great
Seems like
rest day.
seems like a nice day to split it up, to be me.
It's a great rest day. Thursday, I'd be doing the Hyrox class in the morning, and then coming in, and sometimes I do a bit of cardio, but I'd go and do like a weightlifting class to keep my strength up. Friday morning, I'd do the partner ward CrossFit in the afternoon after work, so I'd finish work at like 1.
Right, again, for people that maybe don't know the CrossFit and the terminology, what is a partner WOD?
So that's a WOD is workout of the day, and the partner bits you do it in a pair. So it could be stuff in unison, so you're both doing the movement at the same time, or
see when you see the guys and they're pretty synced up. Looks pretty cool, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially with the gymnastics, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
I'm not like that though. I'm swinging about.
Hi.
Keep up with me, please.
You're there for the show.
So I'd do that in the morning. I get to finish work early on a Friday, because you do longer days during the week. So finish between 12 and 1, have a wee nap, and then go and do interval training.
Nice.
So interval running on a treadmill.
Yeah.
Get the speed up and things like that. Saturday, it's a group workout. Teams of 3, whatever. We'll just do a workout together.
Yeah.
Sunday morning, 5k with the running club, and then go in and do.
Say you're a runner. You remember a running club? Clearly a runner.
Only because of the Hyrox. And it's been a great thing because I've stuck with them now.
Brilliant.
So yeah, that was a Sunday morning at 9 a.m. and then I'd be back in the gym doing conditioning and lifting on the Sunday evening.
Wow. So, I mean, to be honest, you're almost training like a professional athlete.
And then trying to work a 9 to 5.
And you've got a real job. You've got an important job. You've got a proper adult job.
Yeah, a proper adult job.
As an aerospace engineer, that's quite cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It was tough because I was constantly eating as well and trying to fuel my body correctly, trying not to flare up at the same time.
Yes, that was going to ask you about that. Now, having taken part in a challenge or two over the years, and I think with these things that you're always learning, aren't you? You're learning about, in this case, which is massively important, nutrition. And how your body reacts to it and how you can fuel it and all that kind of stuff. I've done a number of endurance things over the years, and learning about that was really, I mean, looking back to where, starting doing the first things at the beginning, you never had a clue what you're doing. Arguably still don't, but there's a science to it, isn't there, to try to fuel so that you're performing at the optimum level that you can. Now, you're doing it, your challenge is even greater, much greater, because you're trying to fuel for optimal performance whilst the balancing act where you see and not getting into a flare. And so how are you fueling that then to get that?
Lots of snacks.
Yeah.
So I was just not eating my sort of trigger foods. I stayed away with them. was eating relatively similar foods. So your normal chicken and rice and your pastas and sandwiches and snacks and squares bars are absolutely fantastic.
A what?
Squares bars. A square.
Oh.
Do you like the Rice Krispie bars?
Ah,
Squares?
right,
Yeah, like the wee squares, yeah. With the marshmallows and stuff, yeah.
Right, I know what you mean there.
I'd be munching on them in work.
Aye.
Yeah. And eat chocolate and cans of Monster. Caffeine doesn't affect me, thank goodness.
A can of Monster.
Yeah.
I've never drank Monster.
Have you not?
No. What does it taste like?
Well, I like the white one, the white Ultra.
Grant, have you drank Monster?
I used to, but I don't anymore because I was drinking too much and it was making my heart go like a
Really?
ticker.
Aye.
Jeez.
So kids, basically, this is not an advert for Monster. Your diet sounds horrendous.
I'm a candidate.
Aye.
Crack one open straight to the gym, yeah.
Well,
So if I know if I've opened one, right, I have to go to the gym. I can't just sit and drink one. I do look at people like walking down the street with a can of like full sugar Monster going, what are you doing? Like you're not doing anything with all that caffeine.
So are you using that for like
a pre-workout,
like
yeah.
a pre-workout type idea? Right. Aye, so it's a very Scottish thing. You go by, you drive by a bus stop or something like that, and have the Monster or the Red Bull and a fag.
Yeah.
That's not happening here.
No, it's not. It's like I'm opening that and I'm going to the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And what is so? See before. I'm really interested in how. So how long did the Hyrox take? Not the training, the actual.
So that was an hour and 37 minutes for me.
I don't know if that's. Did you feel during that?
I did. I had a gel. I actually had a gel. I needed one because.
Does the gel agree with you?
Yeah. So I'd
What kind of gel did you have in it?
So it was a High Five energy gel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one I'd been sent out maybe at the start of my diagnosis process, and I'd given it a go, and it was fine with me. So I was like, right, I know this works.
Yeah.
Because I know they sometimes don't.
No, because even somebody like I've tried loads of gels over the years, and some of them are absolutely rotten, and some of them have got a weird consistency and stuff like that. So I would use is it SIS?
Yeah, no, I've heard of them.
They do different flavours. They do a caffeine one as well. Do a caffeine one. There you go. So I use them. So you get a wee gel after half an hour or something like that, or 45 or something. So
I got to the burpees. So that's the fourth station in, and I had nothing.
Honestly,
I was overheating. I was like,
Did you go too hard at the start?
I don't think I did. I think it was more my heart rate, the heat. I had the dry mouth really early on as well.
Yeah.
And I felt really warm. I just wasn't really comfortable.
Yeah.
And that was in my head. That was playing on me. And I was like, if I overheat and I'm sweating, I was sweating loads. And I was like, I was getting into a bit of a panic actually.
Oh, really?
My heart rate hit 211 at that point.
What?
I have no idea how I didn't flatline. So I got through the burpees after about 8 minutes.
But that's it. If you don't mind me saying, that sounds pretty dangerous. That the heart rate at that level.
My heart rate was consistently high. So my heart rate's always been high.
Right.
I have had it checked, and they said it was because of my UC and the inflammation.
Really?
Yeah. So my resting heart rate, after weight loss, never really, like after COVID, never really started dropping down again. It was always quite high. So
What's your resting heart rate?
Now it is. Do you want to check?
Come tell us. It might be high because of the nerves of the gutsy situation.
My resting heart rate's 58 now.
That's all right. For some.
Well, it's currently 78, but
yeah.
But like my normal resting now is 58, but it was in the 70s.
Right.
Before I was on medication. Yeah.
But even going up to 210.
So
mental.
You see, whenever I work out, it's up there 180. Like I did a 10k a couple of weeks ago. I was having a conversation. They're like, "Oh, what's your heart rate?" 187. They're like, how are you having a conversation with me? So I don't know. So I can operate at quite a high heart rate, but that was, I did not feel good.
No.
I did not feel good.
No, definitely not.
And I was halfway through.
Yeah, you've got a fair...
And I was like, do I just like roll, like how do I roll away?
So you recovered with the burpees, said no one ever apart from you.
Got a second wind after the gel, yeah. And then was flying. I knew it was over. I knew the burpees was over, so I was on the rower.
So tell me this. When you crossed that finish line, how did you feel?
I genuinely thought, thank fuck, this is over. I literally curled up into a ball and went, I'm so glad I don't have to do that again.
Really?
I genuinely did not enjoy it.
Well, to be fair, you almost died with a heart rate as high as that. This is not a good advert for Hyrox.
Yeah, sorry folks. Like, well done if you enjoy it, but it's not me. But I think that was the reason why I was doing it for charity, because it's pushing myself to something I don't think I'd ever do. And I really did push myself, and I had to train a lot differently. I had to incorporate running into everything.
Yeah. But I think that's like, you know, from a fundraising perspective, you know, in my experience, that captures people's attention when you're doing something that they go, oh, that's hard, or that's hard for that individual, or that's taking you out your comfort zone, or whatever the story is. You may die doing this. Oh, that's worth 20 quid. Do you know what I mean? But that's what it's like. Yeah. So, you know, for you to do that, you know, is testament to you first of all for the challenge, but it's also what made you raise so much money as well, because you raised a fair amount of money to be honest with you. And congratulations on that.
I really did not expect that much support from folk.
Oh, they get it. They get your journey. I think your social media was excellent, but you know, you were sharing a load and explaining a lot through the process and what you were going through. And I think purely from a fundraising perspective, anybody looking at your socials over that period can learn a lot from it. Yeah. Because you highlighted the level of effort that you were putting in, also why you were doing it, and you're regularly putting the links up and stuff like that. So it was really engaging. And I think did you not do a fair amount of food stuff as well? Did you not put up food? What you were eating and things like that? I think,
because I post a lot of my food anyway, so that's basically how my Instagram started. It was me during lockdown making recipes. So I've always been a foodie, so taking that a wee bit away from me has definitely been tough. So I've been trying to show an insight on what I eat, how I actually feel my body with a condition like you see.
I think that's brilliant. So if anybody would like to know more about that, then what they should be following on Instagram then, Alex?
It's this is so embarrassing now.
Why?
My name is just so embarrassing. It's not like a really cute name, but so it's you can call me _A_. Yeah. So it's not like a food account or do you know, like it's just something that I'd made, and then it grew, and I was like, I can't change this now.
No, you can't. You can't. To be honest with you, I actually in my head had called it "You Can Call Me Al," like the song.
So, okay.
Yeah. So anytime I see that or think, or you get a message for you or something like that on it, I think of the Paul Simon song.
Fair enough.
Which is a great song. So you effectively have a soundtrack in my brain. There you go.
I've won. Mum, I've made it.
You've made it. Yeah, you've made it. So, again, congratulate. I think anybody doing that is, it's a pretty phenomenal achievement. It's a phenomenal achievement for somebody that's going through what you're going through on a day-to-day basis. So dealing with a chronic condition is phenomenal, and I can't congratulate you enough on it. But also, and one of the reasons why I was really keen for you to come on, Gutsy, was it's inspiring for other people. Take away the bit with 210 heart rate. Maybe don't do that. But I think one of the things that at Gutsy, and certainly Catherine McCune Foundation, we really want to. People have they're not defined by their condition. The condition's part of them.
Yeah.
And it always will be. But it's how you actually deal with that.
Yeah.
And it's like, and if I'm right, you were kind of in your social media, you used the term "fuck you" IBD quite a number of times.
Yeah.
Which
I did.
Which I did like, to be honest with you. But it's like, fuck it, I can still do this. Look at me, I can perform, and I'm a believer that the road might change a little bit.
Yeah,
the direction of the road might change, but anybody can excel. Yeah. You can excel, and you've certainly done that. So congratulations again. What would you have any advice for anybody who was kind of going through, what you're going through, your diagnosis, and also what you've achieved? By the way, both professionally and through the gym, because I'm joking because I think you've got a bit of a rock and roll job, and it's certainly in my mind. But I mean, it's a high performing job.
Yeah.
High pressure, I would imagine, at times as well.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, if you don't do your job right, planes fall out of the sky.
I mean, not really, but yeah. I hope not. I don't give it the final stamp, thank goodness.
A massive over-dramatisation on that. But, but don't let truth get in the way of a good story. Yeah, it's so important. But you're performing at a decent level, to say the least.
Yeah.
What's your advice to someone that's going through, that IBD journey?
Talk about it firstly. You need to let people know how you feel. I think that is the main thing. So if you're not feeling well, like really not feeling well, you've got to let folk know so that they can support you in one way or another. Whether that be help you go on a walk, or like just let you talk it out. Just tell people how you're feeling. The next one I would say is I love CrossFit, right? And that's something I've grown to love. If you want to do exercise or whatever, like you need to try lots of different things to see what works for you as well, because everyone is different. So I might say tomatoes don't work for me. They might work for someone else. CrossFit works for me, but running might be right up someone's street. And it's just about finding something that actually works for you. I feel like I've gone off on a tangent a wee bit. No.
You're actually skipping ahead as if you've been watching the Gutsy podcast, because we do a quick fire thing near the end, and one of the questions is would you get 3 tips for somebody living with inflammatory bowel disease? So you've got 2, so you've just got 1.
One more.
All right, you can have multiple.
Trying to think, because I sort of I don't waking up and go, oh, I'm too sick to do something today. I always give it a go. Give it a go, even if it's for 2 minutes. Yeah. Just give it a go. And you actually might feel 10 times better. You might feel worse, but at least you know that you've given it a try. Yeah,
I love that, and I think it's a great bit of advice, because sometimes it's the easier option. And by the way, I'm not. It might sound as if I'm being flippant with this. Thankfully not living with the condition. But so somebody might see this and go, "It's easy for you to say," but my job is speaking to people. Yeah. I speak to lots of people with inflammatory bowel disease. I speak to lots of families and so on, and different demographics, different ends of the spectrum, and sometimes the easy thing is just to say, right, I'm just accepting it today.
Yeah.
And I always find that in the main, the people that don't accept it, they go, nah, I'm going to get it going. But with that attitude that you had, even if it's 2 minutes, it might not work out that day.
No,
and you know what? That's fine.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine. It's fine for it. It's fine to take the day off. It's fine that sometimes your biggest achievement in the day is getting a shower or making your bed.
Or just getting out of it, yeah.
Yeah, totally. that's totally fine. But get a go.
Yeah.
Get a go. You know, it doesn't have to be like a million burpees.
No, because like there's days where I struggle so much sometimes to just get out of bed, and I'm like, well, I have to get out of bed or else I don't go to work. If I don't go to work, then
the airplane's fall for the sky.
Yeah, definitely. Like even just like, right, I'll go to the shower, I'll put the water on, right? Well, the water's on, you have to get in. It's just all these wee small steps, and you can stand in the shower for 20 minutes and do absolutely nothing, but you've got into the shower at the end of the day. Again,
I think you've touched on something that's really important. In fact, I think me and Grant were talking about it earlier on, but breaking things down.
Yeah,
it's getting from the bed to your desk at work, or whatever, or you're driving the car or doing what. I mean, that sounds like a lot. It sounds like millions, but
it can be tough,
but if you break it up, right, well, the first thing I need to do is get up, I need to get in the kitchen, I need to turn the shower on, I need to get in it and try and break it down into small, so that the big goal is not even thought about. It's just the little increments to get there.
Yeah.
So I think that's brilliant advice. I'll go to ask you another thing. Because we've just kind of skipped onto the quick fire anyway. So,
yeah, sorry.
So no, I like that. I like it. 3 things that piss you off.
Folk that tell me that I couldn't possibly have IBD because I'm too fit.
Right. Now
that's the one big one for me.
So you told me this story earlier on.
Yeah.
And it made me feel a wee bit sick and a wee bit sad. But somebody sent you that on social media, didn't they?
Yeah, and it was a UC Crohn's account, support account.
Oh.
Yeah.
And a really knowledgeable one, but the sounds of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're too fit.
Too fit
to have IBD.
That's a certain mindset to say that, isn't it?
It was really cheeky.
That's a very diplomatic way of putting it. I don't know if I would have put it quite like that.
And I messaged back and I was like, how can an account like you tell someone like me that I'm not sick?
When who doesn't even know you?
Yeah. You've just watched me over social media. Like you don't know me. You see me training. You don't see me at the bathroom crying, at the bathroom nearly throwing up. You don't see me lying on the sofa with a hot water bottle on or being barely able to move. Social media is one of those things where it's a highlight reel, isn't it? But people on social media, you can't judge someone from that either, just because they're at the gym. Oh, you're fine.
Why should you?
Yeah.
Why it's sadly, you can go into all the social elements of social media and
it's
they put the pros and the cons. But I mean, it's a wee bit bullish, isn't it, to do that? It's quite toxic, and I mean that individual who we don't know, so we can't judge.
No,
because they might, that person might have been having a really bad day. They're going through a really bad time, and they're seeing you like doing Hyrox and super fit and like. And they're looking at it and going, there's no way, that's not, and they've just maybe done out. I'm going to say that they've given them the benefit of the doubt, that they've maybe had a really bad day, and that's been their you've been their sadly their outlet.
Yeah.
Alternatively, they might just be bastards. They might just be horrible people, but will we give them the benefit of the doubt?
I mean, I did go off on them, to be fair, and I was like you can't be saying that to folk whenever you don't see everything else. You just see me working out on Instagram.
Yeah, and you're not.
And they did apologise, actually, to be fair.
All right, so
they were being a bit rude.
But see, the thing is, you don't know what's happening in somebody else's life, and you're absolutely right. It's a highlight reel.
Yeah.
And it's not nice at all. I mean, some of the stories that you hear with people. People commenting on social media and things like that. Really, it's really bad. Yeah. But again, you know, you could talk about it till the cows come home with the pros and cons of social media, but it's like, you wouldn't say that to my face.
No.
You know, but why is it okay to say in a keyboard?
Yeah.
You know, and you by the look of your name are from my community that I am part of, an inflammatory bowel disease community. So that makes it.
I think it makes it worse, actually.
Oh no, it's 1,000,000% worse. 1,000,000% worse, because at least if somebody's coming for the point of ignorance and you know, and a lack of education in it, I'm not saying it's right. But you can forgive them. But you can almost say, look, let me educate you. But if someone's coming from it with lived experience and saying that, you know, it's a million things. Is it jealousy? Is it what, you know, whatever? Which is all the things aren't very nice anyway, are they? No. So if you get to watch this person, that wasn't very nice. No. No, it wasn't. You know, we want to hold each other up. We want to inspire. We want to empower. Yeah. And you know, support each other, and that's massively important. Mm-hmm. I'm really disappointed with that, to be honest with you. It's a real shame. But hopefully they've learnt from their ways.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, so would I. Oh, shit. What else? What else pisses you off apart from that?
Not being able to enjoy things the way I used to.
Yeah. Like pizza.
Like, yeah, pizza, broccoli, whole wheat, like just being able to actually eat what I fancied.
Yeah. I
think it is quite tough at times, because obviously I run a bit of a food Instagram account as well, and you get invites to places, I'm like, oh, am I going to risk it, like today? Like, what? You're taking a chance on food, and I hate having to actually do that. Yeah. It's not nice.
No. And what would your advice to somebody, you know, with that kind of a lover of food be? I mean, how? Jeez. I mean, you hate it, but how do you go over it? Like we spoke earlier about, are you banking it up to say, I know this is going to be bad for me, but I'm willing to take the hit for a bit?
I think sometimes sometimes it's weighing up the costs. Like, can you afford to be ill for a week?
Yeah.
Because when I ate that pizza a couple of weeks ago, I didn't think I was going to be ill for a week.
Well, that's it, isn't it? You know, you're kind of you're
rolling the dice, aren't you?
Pretty much. And you didn't win on that one, did you?
No.
If you're going before.
Yeah, I thought, with the biologics, I'll give it a go.
But I think sometimes it's like you're testing the water to see how far you can push it as well. Yeah. You know, just saying, like, I'm going to test that and see how far I can get, and then you go, oh, that was not too bad. I'll push it a wee bit further till you
need to rein it back in.
Yeah.
So if you do decide to roll the dice, I would say, don't just then go, right, I'm going off the rails.
Yeah.
You need to try that one thing and stick with that, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because you can really make yourself sick.
You need to be
sensible. Yeah.
Yeah, but you need to be a wee bit scientific about it as well, don't you? You need to have a kind of, well, you're an engineer, so...
Unfortunately.
So you're doing it that way. What would you hope for the future in inflammatory bowel disease?
There's a few things. Earlier diagnosis. More help. I mean, I think charities these days are doing a great job, actually. But there's not enough help within the NHS. I think in that, and support or guidance. If you're in the diagnosis path, who do you go to? Because you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But you could be suffering for a year and a half before you get seen.
So what you know, it's quite interesting you say that, but what would have helped you, or what would have helped you then, and what would help you now that you don't have, or you feel you don't have? access to, or?
I think, for example, I only got given an IBD helpline number in January. Mm-hmm. So that'd been over a year and a bit. I didn't know who to contact.
Yeah.
If I was in a flare. There was no number for me at all apart from the secretary. But pre-diagnosis, I think I personally had quite a good grip on it because I had that experience of everything in my family, because I think a lot of times you can turn up to, say, A&E and they look at your bloods and you're like, oh, you're all right. We're not actually going to do anything. They send folk home, and I see it a lot in like Facebook pages and stuff that people just don't know where to go or who to turn to because they're constantly being sent home by the GP and A&E, and no one's getting a grip of them. And I think that's maybe just an issue with the NHS itself, and there is a problem within that, not just for IBD, but
sadly that is the case. And I think that's where organisations like the Catherine McEwen Foundation come in. Because we can offer, well, being honest, we want to offer so much more support. But we're doing what we can, and we're evolving that service provision and things like that. But is it perfect? Absolutely not. But we're doing our best. But the only way we can do that is by listening to your community.
Because I think a lot of people don't know what it is until they're told as well. I was fortunate enough to be clued up on it, and there's other folk there that are maybe worrying it's something else. And
I think sometimes you were saying that it was obviously an emotional moment getting the diagnosis, but it was relief of actually getting the diagnosis. But you kind of knew you were 90% there anyway, or 99% by the sounds of it, and what you were. So to a set, in a strange kind of way, you were lucky. But imagine if you never had that, and that the questioning what was going on, and that the level of, you had a level of uncertainty, and you were pretty sure you knew what the diagnosis was going to be. Imagine having that uncertainty and you never knew. Yeah,
and just being knocked back and not knowing. You can't always take no for an answer from a medical professional. Yeah. They can't say, oh, it's not this and it's not this and it's not this, so you're good to go home. No, you need to actually work out what's wrong with you here.
Yeah, totally.
And you need answers.
But it's what we were speaking about earlier on. Yeah. You're the expert on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody can tell you how you feel.
Yeah, so you have to be your own advocate.
Yeah. And what about hopes for you? Wait, you got it right. You said you hated Hyrox. Are you doing another one?
No.
Are you doing something else? But
I don't know.
Yeah, you just give yourself your rest. Yeah, not rest. But you're definitely not resting because you're trained pretty much every day.
My central nervous system took an absolute beating.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think almost everybody that does something extreme, because that's extreme.
Yeah, it took a toll on me.
They don't appreciate the toll that it can take on their body, and they don't, and I'm including myself here, by the way, don't give enough time to recover. Because any time I've ever done anything that's a kind of endurance and anything like that, my recovery is generally with a beer in my hand. I'll say I'm not a good advert for recovery.
It's hydration, isn't it?
Yeah. But you don't realise it. It wasn't. I read up on something. I did Ironman last year, and I did a couple of 70.3s, which were tough. So I was going to do the big one. I was going, what's the recovery in this? And it was saying, like, I think some of the articles that you read, lots of varying different things. They were saying you'll need 6 to 8 weeks recovery. Some of them were saying, and I'm going, 6 to 8 weeks? I'm like, 10 days or a week or whatever.
2 weeks off, aye?
Yeah, I've cut a few days in the booze and back in the gym. Yeah. That type of thing. But that's for me being, I would like to think, relatively healthy. So what the impact on you doing something that extreme, but will you see?
I know. I never quite realised how much it would take out of me.
Yeah.
Because even the training and stuff, I look back and I go, how did I train?
Yeah.
Like that? Because this week I'll not be able to train like that unless there's something in place again, because
yeah, target to go for.
It was hell. But I think that you add all that up, and then you add the event up as well, and then it's done, and then you've kind of got the adrenaline still going in you, which sort of carries you for a few days, I think, and then you're like, oh, I'm fine.
And then it hits.
And then I think it hits. But I'm still even now, really slow at recovery, I think. Able to pick up bugs and stuff, felt really run down.
Yeah. You probably need, I would suggest that you definitely need to give yourself that a little bit longer.
A wee bit longer, yeah, because, I mean, I didn't really see anyone on, social media again. I was looking at all these folk, like, smashing out a Hyrox on, like, the first day, doing the doubles on the Friday, and then a relay on the Sunday. Or, like, they're straight back into training, or they do a Hyrox and then they're in a marathon the next week. And absolutely amazing people, but I almost forgot myself that I was looking up at these people, knowing that that's mostly their full-time job is to be fit, and they don't work a 9 to 5, or they don't have a chronic condition or a chronic illness, you know.
Yeah, but it's a comparison.
It is a comparison thing, and sometimes I'm like, I need to actually take a wee step back here, because I'm not a machine.
Yeah, but it's also important to celebrate what you've done, and celebrate your wins, and celebrate that is a massive, massive accomplishment and a massive win. And as we spoke earlier on, sometimes that win's getting to your work, but that win was something that for so long that you had planned to do, and you battled, you battled away to against the odds. Let's face it, to be able to achieve it, and you did achieve it. So now, if I can be bold enough, you need to give yourself a rest, but but also celebrate it.
Yeah,
but you look back and go, I've done that.
He did every single minute of it,
but you did.
I did your goal. Yeah, I did it.
You did your goal. Well, Alex Pope, thank you so much for joining us on Gutsy. It's been an absolute pleasure. And, as I said at the start, I was really keen to get you on because I think you're absolutely inspirational. What you've been through and what you've achieved. And I think it really goes to show that, don't let your inflammatory bowel disease define you. You can achieve so much in life. It might not always be the road that you expected to travel, but you can absolutely do it. And there's some absolute gems of advice in there for your lived experience. So on behalf of myself and everybody at Gutsy and the Catherine McCune Foundation, thank you.
It's no problem at all.
Been a pleasure.
Enjoyed it. Yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks.